The views expressed in this podcast stems from our passion for the security industry and for the physical security operations. They do not necessarily reflect the views of our employers. Welcome to Security Theater with Scot and Carlos, where we pull back the curtain on the world of security.
I'm Scot Walker, your co-host, with years of experience in the trenches of the military, federal law enforcement, and corporate security.
And I am Carlos Francisco, here to debunk the myths and misconceptions that surround the security industry.
In Security Theater, we dive deep into the realities behind security measures, exposing what's truly effective and what's just for show.
I agree, and we'll tackle controversial topics, interview industry experts, and share stories from our own careers that reveal the often hidden truth about security.
So whether you're a security professional, a curious skeptic, or someone just looking to understand the world of security better, join us every week for a no-holds-barred discussion.
And get ready to see beyond smoke and mirrors. This is Security Theater.
Security Theater.
Scotty. I love it, Scotty. What are we going to talk about, man? It's a continuation
All right,
of the RFP, right?
Yeah, I'd like to continue down this rabbit hole with requests for proposals, because we talked about how to benchmark and start that RFP process, the very early stages. Let's get into it. What happens after that?
Yeah, so you kind of ask them for a little bit of information, and they're going to send you a bunch of information back. And this way you can compare a lot of the local and regional to the national companies that I said, right? And I call them mom and pops, but there are some regional security companies that are really big in certain regions. There's some national ones, and you and I know, obviously, there's some international companies that are all over the place and out there doing a good job as well. But this is where you get to be able to kind of rate them and compare them one to the other. So basically, what they're offering, what's their specialty items or their training or benchmark with these other companies, right? On your own. Their bill rates. That's so interesting, Scotty, how in one local region you'll ask for an RFP, let's say for Chicago or something. And man, the bill rates from each company. I've seen them where they're like 40%. There's a 40% delta, a difference in between, what one is and what the other one is. And you're like, oh my goodness gracious, man, how in the world does that work, right? So that's another one. I mentioned this on the last podcast that we did. How are they doing financially? Because they're gonna have to pay their people. Sometimes we're 30 days out, 60 days out and getting paid. Well, you're gonna have to bank it. One way that we've done it before, and you mentioned this in the last podcast, is to allow them to bill us weekly. So they have a revolving. Now it takes a little bit of work on our side, right? Because we got to review invoices every week instead of on a monthly basis, but at least helps them with some cash flow so they can continue to work with us. We've done this before on smaller companies that we really wanted to partner with. We thought they were a great, they're a great fit to our culture, and so we were willing to do that. Normally, though, just stick with a 30-day, invoice period. I think that's the way to go. I think about, because it's a growing industry, it's a growing business. Can they grow with me, Scotty? Can this company grow? Do they have the people at the top that I know can grow with me? That's another one as well that for me that I'm comparing when I receive that information. I don't know if you have anything else. I got a couple more.
I'll tell a war story behind the 30, 45, 60, 90 day pay periods. Depending on what industry you're in, sometimes it's 30 days, which is ideal. Sometimes it's 40, sometimes 60. I've even seen 90. I've never been involved in that industry, but I have heard the horror stories. And what is that? But that is the period of time that the company will pay the vendor. So, the accounts payable has a standard that they have to follow. And this is important for corporate security leaders to understand, or at least know, because this is going to be something that maybe your vendor will ask for some grace for. They'll say, hey, look, we'd love to do it at this rate, but can you pay us every 30 days? And you go back to procurement and you're like, this is great. They're going to give us a deal. And procurement's like, we don't bill on a 30-day rotation. We bill on we don't invoice on a 30-day rotation. We invoice on a 45, 90-day rotation, whatever.
Right.
If it isn't what your company does, you got to know that. And that happened to me where I was like, we're getting a great deal here, but they want to change the terms of billing. And procurement was like, cool story, bro, but this is your little multi-million-dollar agreement means nothing to our hundreds of millions of dollars that we have in cash flow every month. So you got to be friends with your procurement people and really know what their or accounts payable and really know what their challenges are.
Yeah, understanding the net pays, right? The net 30s, net 60s, net whatever, and net 90. Oh my God. I don't know if I want to do business with somebody that's only going to pay me 3 months later. I don't know, Scotty.
We have to be, we do have to understand that. We have to be empathetic there because especially if it's a small business, you talk about mom and pop security businesses, they're fronting money 30, 60, 90 days out, whatever the net is. And so they're taking money and essentially loaning it to our organization in the form of services before they've made a dollar. So, the only people that do that and make money at it is a bank.
Right. Well, I was going to say, if you are a small mom and pop, get that contract. Go to a local bank. Get you a loan ahead of that contract, right? Because you have a contract that's backing.
You got to secure your funds. Because here's the reality: you've had this happen. I've had this happen where the guards will come to you if it's guard services we keep talking about. The vendor's employees will come to you if you have kind of this open door policy that I did when I was managing guard force and or managing the relationship with the guard force vendor. And they would come to me and they'd be like, hey, man, I haven't been paid in like 3 weeks.
Right.
And I'm like, I wish I could pay you, but you don't work for me. Let me make a phone call. And I would be that guy. Now, 10 plus years later, I don't know if I'd be that guy, but I certainly would hate for anybody to go without if they're supposed to be paid. But I've had nightmare vendors. I'll drop a name right now because they don't exist as a company anymore. U.S. Security. U.S. Security
Associates? Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Were horrible at billing us. They could not bill us appropriately. They would continually bill us for overtime that was not approved.
Right.
And other things. Now they're gone, so who cares? But those kinds of things happen. So look, you got to understand that a company may be able to give you a discount if you can negotiate better payment rates for them, but as on the corporate security side, we may not be able to do that. So just be aware of what procurement guidance is there.
I agree, and oh my God, I mean, a lot of companies still fail in the whole entire billing.
Big companies.
It's crazy. U.S. security services, we're not the only one. They're not the only one. Yeah, I mean, in today's market, there's still plenty of security companies that just can't bill you right, and that's one of the bane of my existence, Scotty. I wish they would just figure, you want to get paid, do it right, right? Do it right.
Well, something that you talk about in your latest book, which hasn't released yet, but I've been able to review it. You talk about in that initial kind of fact finding, sniffing around RFP process. You talk about technology, and this is the technology. Is this the technology that the vendor is going to leverage to make things easier in your world? Like, where have they invested in technology? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. If you have the right technology where people are being able to clock in, clock out, the back end is all connected to your HR system, right? That should help. That where mathematically they're putting together all the hours, and breaking down individual employees, and then possibly giving them multiple job codes so they can clock in as a different job code if they have different positions or they're trained in different positions. There's a lot of great, and we're not sponsored by any of them, so I'm not going to throw out any of the great companies that are out there they'll do this. But yeah, having the right technology and the people in place to make sure that the back of the house is important. It's always great to hire somebody, Scotty, that actually says, okay, we're going to have a back of the house person that only works for your account. And I'm like, Oh, that's a plus. Okay, I like it. I like it.
But understand that they're not going to take a hit to put that
Oh,
person. You're getting billed somewhere
oh, well, yeah,
for
it's
that
that
bot.
40% up to
Yeah,
40% delta
yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen in the one RFP. But look, here's some of the things that I'm taking from that first response on that email.
yeah.
After they could grow with you, which we talked about, but do they operate heavily in the area where I need them? Because if they don't operate heavily, they're gonna have to do a lot of work to build up a program in that area. So I don't know. What's their leadership structure like? I just said, they're gonna have one person in the back of the house just for me, which is great. And I know I'm gonna get, dinged for it financially. Somebody's paying for this thing. But yeah, do they have maybe some kind of an operations manager that's only mine? It's not an account manager that has 10 accounts within one region. I look for those kinds of things. Those are important to me. Yeah. And again, how well and seamless their back of the house systems work. That to me, because back of the house invoicing, it's such an issue, Scotty, that I look for that and I question them on that. And I want to know what system they're using. I said, walk me through an officer coming to work. What do they do, right? When it comes to that, and then how it gets recorded and how I'm going to be billed. I walk them through that conversation because I want to know, Scotty. I want to know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think um, being as prescriptive as possible, because you get a lot of promises.
Yeah.
You get, oh, well, we have this great system for, let's say, guard tour.
Yeah.
Where what guard tour is, for folks who don't know, is an officer a security person is patrolling. And where are they at any given time? How do we know they're checking on the things that they should be checking on? By the way, all kinds of ways to scam out of those things. But a lot of security companies are like, oh, we give them phones, or we have our own proprietary technology that we utilize. And that can be good. I remember another company that doesn't no longer exist, G4S, had a system for documenting incidences. They had their own, I forget what it was called, but they had their own system for documenting in reports. And I could go in and read their daily activity reports. It was all technology that what I think was based on cell phone, or at least maybe they had an app they could upload these things. When they're out in the field, they could take a picture of something and push that to you. So if you're in-house managing the relationship with a vendor, there are a lot of promises about this technology is the best in the world. But remember, it costs them money to develop it, and they are going to try and make money on the development, right? I mean, people don't do things because it's the right thing to do, or because they think that this is going to change the world. They do things because they're trying to make money, right? If we had our own proprietary software, we could maybe sell it on top of our services, right? So I think digging through that a little bit, at least trying to understand, hey, what are you doing? Why do you have that? Why are you pushing this guard tour thing or whatever the software is, in addition to your other services? And I like cafeteria menus as much as possible. We talk about, what are the list of things that you're going to do?
Yeah.
If I don't want 4 of those on there, I want to take those off. Give me the cafeteria menu. Then what does it cost? Because I kind of want to be custom. I do like to have my fingers in the creation of the cake a little bit, because I care about the outcome.
Sure.
And look, a lot of security professionals, a lot of security leaders on the corporate side, they can't be in the minutia because their programs are huge. But I care about outcome. One of the things you mentioned in your book quite often is a pet peeve of mine, besides the billing, is customer service. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh Lord, so I'll ask them. What kind of courses or classes are they doing to their folks on the training they're giving their folks on the customer service or customer centric approach, or what it is to be a customer? To be honest, in our industry, 95% of the time, you're just a customer service specialist, and 5% bombs and bad guys specialist. That's how I feel about it. But I'll ask them. Do you do any training on soft skills? Right, and you need you're going to be dealing with a lot of people that are coming in through our front door. How nice can your security officer be as a representative of my company and my culture? That's what I want to know. And and I know the industry's lacking in that a little bit, Scotty. So we got to get better. We got to get better at it. That's for sure. But here we got about 30 seconds, a minute left, Scotty. I just want to go a couple things here. So do your background investigation. Now you got a lot of information from, do background checks on the company leaders, who's working with them directly, indirectly, what's their financial stability. We talked about that. Are they licensed to provide contracted guard force in whatever state you're going to be in? Is the license up to date, right? Are they insured, right? And for how much? That's going to be important. Make sure you know that. Their history in the business and in the market that you're seeking assistance, right? And look at the Department of Labor websites and review the complaints, see if there's any complaints in there. Look at courthouse files as well to see if there's any cases that have been involved with their pending. All of the above. I know it's a little bit tedious, but you have to do the background today, Scotty. You got to make it right.
You don't want to give somebody millions of dollars and years of a contract without some level of understanding that they can do what you're asking them to do.
Liability here. Remember, our jobs, every time I answer a question, if I'm in a job interview, what is your job? To keep my company out of the lawyer's office. Keep the company out of liability's sake. This is one way for you to do it. We're going to stop here. We'll cover on the next podcast what kind of like the final RFP interview is like and how you can measure how well a company does in the interviews. And then we might even go into what it takes to onboard a company in a lot of these companies, and maybe what's important about the statement of work, right? And the relationship in between you and this company and the KPIs and the SLAs and everything else. We're going to, in the security theater here, we're going to give you a bunch. We're going to give you a bunch of stuff, and it's up to you to discern what's important to you and what is not, Scotty.
Thanks for peeking behind the curtain with us.
I get it. Listen, sometimes it's all smoke and mirrors. Sometimes it's not, but keep your company out of liability. I am Carlos Francisco.
And I'm Scot Walker.
And this is Security Theater. Take care, everyone.